We're in Kandy, the perfect base for exploring some of Sri Lanka's ancient wonders. I'm Susan from This Retired Life, and today we're staying at the Cinnamon Citadel in Kandy, up here on the mountain, right beside the river. It's a perfect location, and I think we've got a really lovely location to spend the next couple of days exploring ancient wonders. We're sitting on the banks of the longest river in Sri Lanka here in Kandy this afternoon, having spent the last day or so exploring in and around the Kandy area. The first thing we did when we arrived was take a bit of a meander through the Botanic Gardens.
Which was pretty cool, along with 100,000 school children. There were so many school children there having a wonderful time, eating pink ice creams, having a great time. We didn't have to walk the trails. We got a VIP golf cart, but we're taken around by a very knowledgeable gentleman who pointed out all of the main trees.
So we got to see cinnamon trees, we got to see trees that have been planted by different dignitaries, along with some really interesting topiaries and things along the way, and the smile of about 1,000 small children all dressed in white school uniform. One of the other things that we've experienced while we've been in Kandy is the cultural show. Now, if you're really into cultural experiences, this could be right up your alley. It's pretty touristy, but there was fire eating and fire walking.
Fire walking and harvest dances and lots of very loud drumming and very loud flute music, so it was all pretty good though. It was about 50 minutes long, and it was worth having a look at if you want to get a bit of a look at some ancient Sri Lankan culture. It was all right.
Yeah, we were having a cultural experience while we were here, so it did tick that box. Be aware if you are going to that cultural show that as you're going out there will be an expectation that you're going to tip. They sort of had the guys in the doorway waiting to collect their tip. But an interesting and colourful show to see. The Temple of the Tooth would probably be the number one thing that people come to Kandy for. It's Sri Lanka's most important religious site, and it's full of locals and guests to the country. There's a whole lot of temple etiquette that you need to follow when you're visiting a Buddhist temple. So one of those things is you do need to remove your shoes and leave them at the door. So there was quite a fair bit of barefoot walking around the temple.
Which for a pair of old people like us wasn't easy. We both wear orthotics, and after walking around for 40 minutes or 50 minutes barefoot,
our feet were on fire.
Yeah, a little bit swollen.
You are allowed to take photos within the temple complex, except the area where the tooth relic is located. So you don't actually get to see the tooth, you get to see the room and sometimes the container in which the tooth is housed. So don't go sort of thinking that you're going to see Buddha's tooth sitting on a cushion. That won't be the case. Also, when you're in the temple, you need to be mindful of, when you are in a section that you can take photos, that you don't take a selfie with Buddha. That's a big...
Not on.
You just don't go there.
Yeah.
No, so you can't put your back to... You can take photos of the Buddha statues, but you can't stand with your back to Buddha and take a selfie.
Hey, everyone was really respectful. I didn't see anybody doing the wrong thing, and we've been lots of places in the world, in sacred sites and things like that, and there's always somebody doing the wrong thing, and you sort of cringe a little bit. But no, everyone was very respectful and doing the right thing. It was lovely. And great buildings, fantastic atmosphere. I think one of the problems was we went to the cultural show, so we didn't get there at the right time for the best outside photos. However, we did get there when they were brushing the tooth on the pillow back to where it lives. So that was very exciting, and there were lots of people pushing us around and getting us to where we needed to be. We had no idea what was going on, but it was all very exciting.
It was. There's also a Buddhist museum there where you can see different artefacts from various countries around the world that celebrate and follow the philosophies of Buddha. So that's quite interesting too. Also, just on etiquette, you do need to not be wearing shoulder, straps. You do
Shoulders
need to
covered, knees covered.
So that was the Temple of the Tooth.
Yep.
On the way in, there's a whole lot of different flower sellers and things where you can buy floral offerings to take in with you. But it's just quite interesting just to have a look at how they're opening up all the flowers to create offerings. So I thought that was quite interesting. Today we've also had another look at a different group of temples that were really quite ancient. So we saw a wooden temple, which was constructed entirely of timber with no nails and had very intricate carvings and things.
And there was an elderly local man who we ended up teaming up with, and he explained it all to us in Sri Lankan, but our guide translated for us. And the history was quite amazing, well worth having a look at that temple. Out of the way, off the beaten track, only 2 or 3 other tourists there.
Yeah, so that was terrific. And as we were going in, a whole bunch of school children were coming out. Visiting these sites is really important to the local people. So from the wooden temple, we went to a temple that had been constructed entirely of bricks, and then we followed that on with the temple that had been constructed from stone. Interestingly, in order to be a temple, you've got to have 3 things. So, do you remember?
No.
No. So, you need to have a Bodhi tree, you need to have a shrine to Buddha, and you need to have a stupa. So, if you have all those 3, then you can become a temple.
It could be a weekend job when we get home.
Maybe we'll just have to get ourselves a Bodhi tree, or we're going to have to get started. We might have left that run a bit late on that. So I thought that was interesting. So whenever you see the trees there, and Bodhi trees here are very sacred in Sri Lanka, they're not to be cut down. So if you've got one that's popped up in your backyard in an awkward position, you'll have to move things around, but you won't be taking that tree down.